Welcome to the Freelance Unlocked Behind the Scenes series, where I'm showcasing the amazing people who will be at Freelance Unlocked Conference, the first and the best conference for freelancers that is made with love, and it'll take place in Berlin on May 14th, 15th, 2025. If you are a freelancer in Europe, it's an event made for you to learn, exchange experiences, and build your network of great freelancers and experts who move the freelance economy forward. So go to freelanceunlocked.com and grab your ticket right away. My name is Yuri, I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Göran Hielscher, design thinking coach and consultant at the Inspiracy Group, with a superpower in decoding complex organizational dynamics and turning systemic challenges into actionable insights to leaders to make teams more efficient. So, hello, Goran.
Hi.
I'm excited. We are starting. It's the first pre-interview session for the Freelance Unlocked 2025. You are the first guest. So let's start and tell me exactly we are starting. So how did you start your journey in the freelance world?
All right. Yeah. I love this question because the journey exactly started 20 years ago. So it's
Oh,
like my
wow.
20th anniversary of freelancing. And yeah, it started probably because I made my first, after my early apprenticeship as a media designer or Mediengestalter, as we say in Germany, um, in a startup in the city of Leipzig. And I was their first graphic designer and copywriter. But a part of the experience, I loved the work. After a while, I did not love the work circumstances and thought like, wow, this is not for me. So I don't like a boss standing behind me, watching my fingers, doing things with the mouse and the keyboard. And then I thought like, just let's try freelance. I think it's much better.
It sounds like you just fell in love right away and you never came back.
I think like I'm a hard character to be bossed around. So I always need the why and the reason. And if you give me an order, it should be like very fathomable or understandable why. I just
Mm.
don't do orders.
So since you are 20 years in freelance industry, I'm curious, what is your quick take on the freelance economy and how will it develop in the near future?
Oh, you asked me to generalize.
Yeah, maybe talk about your personal experience, your personal feelings.
I mean, it's a bit like surfing, like you always have a wave going up and down, and certainly like in 20 years, I didn't do all the same. So like, I
Mm.
mean, kind of a progression curve, and sometimes we have like the doubt phases, and even I had two stops or breaks where I went into like being like employed again. It didn't last long both times, but I'm very grateful for both experiences because I understand now like what benefits, of course, is being a freelancer and what benefits you can have as an employee. And we're learning this anyway.
And about the future of freelance, how do you think it will develop?
Future, the future of freelance. I think, I mean, like we hear now, like from all corners, from all like little, like like yeah, from every little corner in the internet and like in talking is like that you won't be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by people using it. And I think I can't agree more. But I'm also like, yeah, I'm very like I'm somehow like quite enticed by the whole thing coming up and
Mm.
afraid as well. So it's like a lot of mixed feelings, but I utilize AI tools already a lot for the work that I do. And I think freelancers, I mean, I think it was like Sam Altman that even said like in the near future it's possible we will see the first freelance or like one person company that becomes a billionaire. And when I see like how my environment, I'm quite at the beginning, I would say, still. Even I enjoy some extra courses in certain AI topics. How they do automation and how they build a totally AI built on AI production team around them. I'm quite mesmerized to see like, wow, what's possible and how this will probably skyrocket in the next months already.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of believe in it, but maybe a little later. I mean, like about the one person billionaire company. But I feel like we are exactly more. And since we are talking about AI, so tell me about your three tools that you are using daily.
Free tools I use daily. I mean, I've just boiled it even down with the subscription of Perplexity, as you
Mm,
can have in the preset or in the settings. You have the choice of which model to use. So it's quite of an integrated tool. Certainly, of course, I started with ChatGPT, as this was like even like, almost like associated being AI per se. As I have to, yeah, process a lot of texts. I went now for a long time, like deeply like into Claude.
mm,
Um, Image generation, I don't need so much. I tried around a little bit, like some like music tools and so, but I think like yeah, like the major tools I really use is Claude and Perplexity because I'm also like, yeah, I'm hungry for information, and the output that is delivered by Perplexity is um yeah, it's quite stunning. And I just saw like that my usage of Google totally diminished. And I hear people around, are you Googling still? No. What are you doing? I use Perplexity.
I'm perplexing. Yeah.
Yeah, totally perplexing.
Okay, so give me a sneak peek into what you plan to be talking about on the Freelance Unlocked stage.
Yes, I will. So one thing that kept me entangled all the time is reflected in my one of my most favorite proverbs or quotes, and this comes from George Bernard Shaw, and it says, "The single biggest problem with communication is the illusion it has taken place." Right? And I often start workshops or programs or any kind of interventions in companies like quoting this very sentence. As from my very first days of working, especially in that very startup I mentioned, I could see how communication, due to certain growth, certain structures, misunderstandings, frames people have, cultural imprints, etc., um, they think they communicate, but they don't.
Mhm.
So, and from being a designer, being a copywriter, an editor, later an editorial manager, um, studying communication with a focus on verbal communication, especially here at UDK Berlin, um, I understood how important that skill is. Nowadays, like Harvard Business Review, Zendesk I researched, and a lot of other institutions went deeply in and said like, oh wow, like one of these like super skills for leaders is storytelling. So I anticipate a bit. And I think it's not the storytelling per se. I think it's the predecessor is story listening. As then when I became a design thinking coach and a systems thinking consultant and coach, it became quite clear the faultiness, the bugs that are flying around in companies and organizations are mostly based on a lack of clear, of good, of empathetic communication. So, and I will go there when we talk about the talk in May, um, to address like this, yeah, I think like these three pillars. So the one is for me communication basics because still, and I even missed that in my study at University of Arts, studied society and business communications. What is with this here that we have, because you give me now time to speak.
Mm,
And so often this is missing in the one-on-ones or one to a team or team to another team or company leaders to their team or to a person whatsoever to listen properly. So that's one thing. The second is storytelling as a practice to make a point and to make yourself clear and to use that for cohesion, to make it like the social glue. In one Harvard Business Review article, they said, "Oh wow, storytelling is the most sophisticated tool people ever developed," and I love that. I really love that. So, and I think by what I grasped now from all the articles and all the talking about AI, one super important skills of the near future is data storytelling. And that's why I also decided to learn more about that because the volume of data is like is going to build up to kind of like some zettabytes. I don't know like how to imagine that anymore. Is that does that have this amount of data? Does that already have a weight? Is that some tons of data? Can we feel it somehow, right? As data will come from all corners, and I think like who has the understanding ownership of data, of course, ends up in a big advantage. So therefore, I think I will address these three things: baseline communication, storytelling for team cohesion and functionality, and also then performance and productivity in teams, as well the absolutely needed skill for maybe a certain amount of years till like the technology is doing that for us,
Hmm.
addressing data storytelling.
And you told about communication that I really love, when we talk about communication, that is it really communication? So what is not communication?
Nothing. So yeah, I mean, this is like very well known, at least like in the bubble of coaches, is like this sentence of Paul Watzlawick, who said you can't not communicate. So
Hmm. Okay.
I mean, even if something someone somehow is not responding, it tells you, okay, there's no response. So like if you fathom that, if you understand that, you have a at least like one directional communication. Um, it's hard to say. I think like or like as system thinking explains, communication is like the smallest active unit between 2 points. So I think communication is always happening.
What challenges do people and teams usually face when they are communicating with each other?
That's a very intelligent question. So, um, as someone that like as a freelancer is given the great opportunity to access such a system without too much of a stake of like any kind of like organizational burden, hierarchical burden. I think like we create, or the system itself, the organizational systems itself, they create boundaries of communication. So we have formal communication, we have informal communication, we have top to down, we have among peers. I don't know. Have you ever seen this the real org chart? This graphic. I think like some consultancy put that out some years ago. So you see like this kind of like flow chart, like top down, like okay,
Hmm.
CEO, top management, like some line managers, and then like all this stuff.
Okay.
This is kind of a duet dream how it should work. But then someone put like a colorful marker and put, oh, this person sells drugs too. This person like owes $20 to. Secret gay crush. Oh, caught him with his wife. Da 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 da. So we forget that we all underneath this like formalized layers are human beings. And there's one major question I miss to hear, not just like in organizations, in any kind of like human relationships, and I may be like guilty to have missed that also quite often. It's just a simple question of how do you mean that?
So I'm curious, since you came up with this hierarchical structure, does it make sense?
The hierarchical structure?
Yes. Why I'm asking? Because many people who I speak with and talk to, they tell me like, "Oh, I have this idea, but I'm so afraid telling it to my manager, and oh my God, I can't imagine talking to a CEO." So they some kind of feel this boundaries, between like sharing their ideas and thoughts because they may be afraid of something. Maybe they're not sure that their idea is good enough. So, does it make sense to be afraid of people who are higher than you in a position?
If it makes sense to you, certainly. I will like sneak in an example, an experience I had 5 years ago. But there I decided because I was was like a little bit the dawn of design thinking, as you could anticipate. And I was a bit tired with freelancing, so I thought like, okay, what you're gonna do? Let's go to a corporate for a while. So I screened the job offers on LinkedIn, and I found like something at Spotify, something there, And I ended up turning into a senior agile transformation coach at Austrian Airlines. So, and I was really like, look, I'm this like freelance guide, like this a bit of the jack of all trades. And for me, it's all about the experiences I can like merge into the art piece I try to become like in my life, right? So, but I had a lot of freedom to do things there, to try formats, to apply what I learned in all my courses and so forth. But after a while, I felt like how the system there like sucked me in and it
Mm.
sucked, literally. Yeah, it was really like, oh my God, I felt so drained. And I even had people when I did like my systemic interviews to prepare bigger workshops or transformation activities there. They sat with me at the table and looked at me and said, like, what the fuck are you doing here? Why like you? And then I made a list, like after that event, I made a list to really reflect where I am. So I made an exhaustive list of my anxieties as a freelancer versus my anxieties as a person that is employed. And I found, I think it's very type specific, but I found my list of being like an employee that was much longer. Because as a freelancer, yeah, existential fear going up and down, but that's basically it. Of course, like something here, is the client happy and so forth. And yeah, maybe I'm also a typical imposter, and I try to always turn into the impostar. Yeah, but this kicks in. But I think imposter syndrome is like really helping us to get better and better. But as an employee, do I get a promotion? Do I get my holiday aligned with my partner and with my children? If I make this suggestion, now coming back to your question, is that something that will be appreciated? Is that something I was not thinking through and reflecting about thoroughly enough to be successful with? Is it something maybe my superior is just going to steal from me? Is
Mm.
it something if I come up with it? I had that once in a workshop, but I don't want to like call out the company. So I did a 1 month project. Yeah. I did a 1 month project with 16 people and I gave a lot of effort. We did research, we built prototypes, we brought the things up. And I think there were like some really good ideas in that. And we had kind of a pre-presentation. And the manager that was about to decide if that project is getting like a level higher, and they invest like a 50K or something, he just like stepped on it like in the first 5 minutes. Later, I learned the success of that project would have been the proof of his failure of the last 2, 3 years. I didn't know that at
Mm.
this point. So, and I was not a systemic coach at this point. I was a design thinking coach only. So I had not this kind of like foresight and sensitivity to dig deep enough into that. And that led me to some years later, I do it since 3, 4 years, put a very important session before all projects, which I call narrative analysis. So if I work with a team of, let's say, 10 to 20 people, more I need support with a survey and something, I talk to each team member for 1 hour. There's some extra effort. But what I learned through that is already listening to people, transforms the relationship, gives them
Mm.
healing, some kind of like healing faculty. It's like, wow, someone is talking to me and listening to me and asking interesting questions. Of course, I mean, they try to buy in, they try to lure me to their side, and then you have to watch out that you don't get into a loyalty conflict because you have to treat everyone the same. But you learn so much. So companies come to me and say, hey, can you give us a communication training? So I
Mm.
can. How do you came to the conclusion you need a communication training? Let's play with that a little bit. Here's my idea. We do this narrative analysis and then we have an output. I will give you a set of 30, 55, whatever hypothesis. And then we reflect upon how deep you want to look into the mirror. And it can turn out, no, definitely what you need is a strong approach to crisis management. You have to do a lot to help your people to feel that they belong to that team. And you, as a general director,
Mm.
you will need some coachings that you don't fall into the trap that out of your pressure, you build kind of a firewall around you with people that maybe gossip the things that you are not having enough balls to tell your team directly. Because you don't want to be bossy, you just want to be everybody's darling and best friend. And then we go back to your question with the hierarchy. So I feel, and what I observed, even in the network organization, some work quite well. There is environments, there is a set of people that have a calling, they have a longing to be led. They
Mm.
need some leadership. And if you want to go a direction, there must be at least like this kind of like Northern Star, my opinion. So, and I just throw that in, maybe we can use it later. We talk so much about leadership today, but we talk not enough about leadership,
Huh.
so to say, because we always talk about the responsibility of the leader. Oh, he's such a good or bad leader. Yeah, but you decided not to be a leader. So like, how is that? What is with your duties and what is with your rights? So how can you make best use of the role that you're not leading? Because you are also there to support the leader. And there the communication starts, but therefore you need an environment that supports that. Therefore, you need, of course, to reflect upon the culture and the way of talking. And this is like where I come in, or when I come in, I say I'm rather here for helping you catalyzing something in the cultural setup around here than just like doing an out-of-shelf communication training that is a lot of waste of money. And but you start transforming step by step from the inside by resting, by holding on for a moment and like allow yourself feeling the pain, acknowledging the mistakes you have made, and this is a absolutely fine breeding ground to establish a healthy culture of storytelling.
What is data storytelling?
Data storytelling. Data storytelling, and as far as I understood, is of course you have a big chunk of data and you have an objective you created this data for. So how to connect these two things, how to make your people understandable of the diamonds or the gold nuggets out of this big like chunk of like rock, data rock, and you want to go like to this like like pieces of gold or diamond inside. So, and it can change according to the objective. So it's like, how can I clean and assemble and sort the data in a way and turn the insight the data gives if something into something that humans can understand?
Does it mean that people can create different stories out of the same set of data?
I mean, think about gossip, right? Someone tells a story, or like this, like I don't know the English like equivalent of in German. We have this like stille Post game, like somebody tells you something in the ear,
Uh-huh.
like I understood this, so you tell it further, and at the end, of course, what comes out is a total different story. I think it never happened. Probably there's the same story coming out. Of course, I mean, I don't want to get too political, but people today like they choose a party to vote for or a
Mm.
politician they adore. And we just see the moment, and it's a problem of our time. So that because like how we produce communicational data makes us miss a lot of context. Everything has a clear starting date, but often like the starting date for the starting date and before and before and before is forgotten. And this is what I mean with the question that is so important. How do you mean it? How do you get to this conclusion? So, because then it's much easier to understand someone, right? So, and of course, the same chunk of information or data, by the filters that people apply, can have a total different result. And therefore, I think data storytelling is helping us with a certain objective because maybe an entire team should understand this chunk of data. Uh, is makes it required to have heuristics or any kind of patterns, filter mechanisms to prepare that data set in a way people can like extract meaning and make sense of it.
How can freelancers use data storytelling to present their value to the clients?
To present their value to clients. Um, so let's apply data storytelling to itself. So what I, for instance, would do in order to promote more understanding how important data storytelling is, of course, you investigate and you do your research on where is the losses along the way when storytelling is not properly applied. And just for this talk, maybe yesterday I read like just like very I skimmed, I screened fastly like 3 articles to understand, oh, Harvard Business Review was talking about it. Zendesk is talking about it. The Manager magazine is talking about it. I looked up, yeah, then I do a lot. Thanks Perplexity, thanks LinkedIn. I look what kind of posts about data storytelling and storytelling are out there. So that's a lot of data, and I cannot just like present all the articles, but then I just, of course, take chunks of, okay, getting the message not properly from A to B may cost German enterprises, is an estimation based on some kind of like math and rule,
Hmm.
cost them like 300 million per year. So boil that down to your company. And I give you an example. I've in 20 years of freelancership, I have been twice in companies. They had the following thing. Both companies, independent of each other, had each 2 departments that had no real communicational bridge, that were almost developing the same product because, like, I mean, every communication system is communicating with the environment. So like the light bulb was also invented by 2 guys at the same time, maybe not knowing from each other. Yeah. So like the interaction with the outer system probably made emerge this invention because there was a need for it and the technology was at the right point. So you have that sometimes in a company as well. So they lose a lot of money because there is no circulating story. And to quote very, very, I highly recommend reading this guy, is Byung-Chul Han. I never like saw him live, but he was also a philosophy professor at UDK. And he writes a lot, and he has this nice book called The Crisis of Narration.
Hmm.
And this is also a thing where I come in, because on the one hand, we embrace technology, but on the other hand, because we don't feel it so strongly, we miss the losses that we have due to broken narration. So he says that the internet per se is no medium of narration, is almost one directional. And this is what I observe in teams. I found it mostly more beneficial and contributional to teams to simply put them in a circle. And I call that simply my bonfire circle. And of course, that has to be facilitated in a way, but then let them share stories instead of, you look like us, like you made even a joke about it. We are now connected on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Slack, and email. And just to get to this call, we used all 4 of them. But I felt,
In different time.
yeah, in different times. So like how to find a cohesion, how to have like the narration is broken. Because today I was really like, damn, Yuri sent me these questions. Where's this fucking questions? Where can I find it? Certainly email. Fuck no. WhatsApp? Ah, no, LinkedIn. And this is the experience teams have, and then I have Jira and whatsoever, but there's nothing that consolidates all this very like really properly. And people get fuzzy. And when people get fuzzy and cannot have a cohesive story, it's just my observation. Yeah, it's just I have no scientific backup for that. But we can just ask people and see the productivity rates and the fuzziness rates and how nervous and burnt out people are. We are so busy of somehow like, putting the things together in our head. Where was this? Where is that? When he sent that? Was it this channel? How to update? Where's the download? Da, da, da. Where's the ticket? So, and I think this causes a lot of struggle. And 12 years ago, I found an MIT scientist, Sandy Pantland. He did some amazing things in companies. He really measured for 6,000 people, I guess, who communicates with whom on which channel for what time about what and what frequency. It was kind of a surveillance study inside organizational structures. And he could really say that, for instance, if there's the hierarchy of communication, the best is like a one-on-one. And then you have a phone call. Then it goes like to chat medium. Then we go to email, and then like it breaks down like to WhatsApp and SMS and stuff. he really found like when there's in the beginning of a project a missing volume of face-to-face communication, and the communication is too early computer-mediated. Maybe we adapted in the decade after, I don't know. You could see like in the production cycle or in the like project cycle where things kicked back because of that, because there's so much things underneath that we are not communicating. And that's why I try to always establish for the teams I work with a culture of bonfire, which is a challenge if you have like multinational teams globally sitting in different time zones alone at home and try to imitate that spirit team. And like some days ago, I just read, hey, we are an online company, but it wouldn't work without the 4 offsite that we have as a team per year, right?
I'm still listening, like I'm still I'm just silent, and I'm just trying to get more and more and more information from you while you're talking, and to really understand the power of communication and how it's important, especially for freelancers, because as a freelancer, you are joining a company and you are like, who are you? You are just a random person coming from a random street to the company where people are already working together for years, and you have to like be super fast in communication, because otherwise, like, they will just fire you. Or as you gave this example, that you were coming with the idea that could kind of sink your boss because like he didn't do it the way they like it intersected. So I just wanted to ask you, so
Yeah.
what advice would you give to freelancers who want to make their communication and storytelling skills better? Like, what is one small step to take right now so they can use great communication at Freelance Unlocked Conference?
I mean, there's like this one thing, like not going to your boss and ask him, because maybe, yeah, maybe he just like rejects you, but on the other hand, maybe he's like, wow, that's genius. So and the same is for us, and this is like why I learned. I'm very grateful. I had a great teacher for my systems thinking education. He said like communication, like the first step of communication is irritation.
Mm.
So the second is make your communication always opening and make it always connecting. So, and he gave this example. You sit in an office, you have your own office, and another like employee comes in, and then I will get to the freelancers. The other employee comes in all the time, wants something from you, but leaves the door open. And you're like, oh, damn. So can you just not close the door? But then you already start this inner dialogue and build up like anger or something toward the person. And you could just snap at the person and say, hey, close the fucking door. You leave it open all the time because you already built up this annoyance. Or you could say, look, excuse me, but maybe I'm a bit weird, but I feel better when you close the door.
Hmm.
Then he's like, because you take it on you, but you give it back to him or her, right? So, and for freelancers, the same. And, like I fell also like regularly in the trap of like this loner phases. Even I'm quite communicative, but then there's this fallback, and from an extrovert, you turn after sitting too long at home and not having like jobs for 2 months or something, and you become a bit nerdish and it becomes cozy and so forth. Get out. And even more today, when so many people are talking about omnipresence, yeah, you have to become vulnerable. And we all have. We all have. But it's always great with this, like, hey, maybe I'm a bit weird, but what do you think about da da da? It's very different. So I have a great idea, and then it's like, no, your idea is actually utterly stupid.
So start with listening, not talking, I guess.
Exactly, the listening, like the guy that invented the elevator pitch, he had no chance to talk to the boss, so he had to observe, where can I catch this guy? Okay, how can I adapt the format, and how do I structure it in a way that he is convinced in 30 seconds or a minute, right? I think
Mm.
observation is the greatest skill, and there's this great book, Deviate of Bo Lado. Highly recommend to read it for everyone, business leader, creative, whatsoever. He says like the next big innovation is not like a technical creative innovation, is the innovation of thinking and observation. And this is the thing. where we get so blinded by in these companies. And I see that especially as a freelancer. Some years ago, I was working at the bank, so for digital transformation. So, and I look a bit younger than I am. Then I just sneaked around and I stood on each floor that was accessible to me. I drank a coffee, one day here, one day there, to get like the grapevine. And it's interesting. You are in this company, somehow like with the company that brought you in, you're working on strategically sensitive topics. And then on every floor, people are telling, what the fuck? Everybody's now wanting to turn this company into Spotify model. We are a bank and not a music store, you know? But the people were just like relieving their pressure and their their state of annoyance and disappointment or not being heard. They just relieved it there. So, but it's such a good place to harvest the circulating narratives, I would call, of such company. And the managers would do very well. Oh, why do you think it's not good for us? I mean, there's so much in just like there would be so much in that. So because the manager could learn a lot and could maybe adjust strategy a little bit because maybe there's like two free employees, they have like a bit more free time than the managers, and that's also a problem I want to talk about. They have a bit more spare time and they don't catch just the headlines. And I think it's also the reason for a little bit of the death of design thinking. Because what I see like on the high levels, there's just like, they have like 14 meetings a day. They have not really time to process things often like thoroughly, to think about implications, to think about the needs of a certain methodology that they do because the other competitor says we are so cool now doing design thinking, but we fail at it because you can see it like as a coach. You have you install this workshop do, speaking from German language, but then in the breaks, the people go out and they say Z again. They do like the formal approach. So yeah, the listening thing is suffering a lot in my observation because people are rushing. They have like this like appointment Tetris on the last level. Everybody is dying because they have no time. It takes out a lot of time for real reflection. And I always say, no lection without reflection, no lesson without reflection in English. So, and if people don't integrate things, that means, okay, this thought now is closed, like this gestalt, it's like we can close it now. You cannot really let it go. And this piles up and this burns people out as well. You have so much things in your head. And, like I often say, some of the companies I experiences were really breeding places of neuroses of the people. So, and it's just like, hey, calm the fuck down. Which leader has said that lately? Hey, look, is a lot of stress on the market. Let's follow this Japanese proverb. If you're in a hurry, walk slowly.
Hmm.
And it will help people. It will help them because they think just like rushing makes things better. No, it makes it worse.
It's so fun that you were talking about time and people rushing because I wish to have the sky as the limit to our conversation, but time is the limit. So the final question.
Yeah.
What would you say to your friend if they asked you whether they should go to the Freelance Unlocked?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I had a great time there, so I can tell them the story of last year. Just sneaked in like shorthand, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, for me personally, where I come from, it was a high density of techie people, and but you can learn so much from them. And I mean, like you have a wide age range there, and it's great for learning or presenting, promoting yourself, or trying your approach skills as a freelancer or someone who wants to flirt, maybe. So definitely go. Definitely go because you meet a lot of great people. You have a lot of great talks. You have a lot of great workshops. You will have a lot of takeaways. And maybe 5, 10, 20 people you exchange your card or your QR or your LinkedIn with. Um, and I connect that with this quote of Heinz von Förster. There's a like old cybernetic guy. You see, I love the quotes a lot, but they help me. They're like little pearls that like come back every once in a while. Always act in a way that increases your possibilities. And I
Hmm.
think if you go to freelance unlocked, like it will increase your possibilities certainly.
And to increase your possibilities, what is the best way to connect with you?
The best way to connect with me, I don't know if people can see inspiracygroup.com here, or I mean personally, but maybe setting up like an appointment, or if you just use my name, Goran, with Ö, because I was happy to catch the umlaut domain goran.de.
Got it, Goran. Thank you so much for sharing your experience even before the conference. And I
My
can
pleasure.
wait to learn even more from you at the Freelance Unlocked. And yeah, see you very soon in person.
Yeah, see you all soon, very soon.
And for those who listen to this episode, I hope you learn from Goran's experience already and say thank you to him in person at the Freelance Unlocked Conference on May 14th, 15th, 2025 in Berlin. So go to the freelanceunlocked.com, grab your ticket, and meet you there.